everybody. The camera systems are just a little difficult this morning. So, all right, today is Wednesday, and thank God yesterday I told somebody it was August 5th, and they looked at me, so it's September 6th. And we are here for the public hearing for the City of Hudson IDA concerning the Providence and Schuyler Apartments Preservation LLC project. So notice was hereby given that a public hearing pursuant to section 174F of the Internal Revenue Code 1986 as amended by the code will be held by the City IDA, the agency, on the 6th of September 2023 at 9:30 a.m. local time at the CEDC here at 1 Hudson City Center, Suite 301 in Hudson, in connection with the proposed issuance by the agency of the tax-exempt multifamily housing debt obligation in aggregate principal not to exceed $16 million in connection with the acquisition, rehabilitation, and equipment of existing multifamily housing complexes located at 46 to 48 North Front Street, also known as 119 and 20 Columbia Street here in Hudson. The Providence and Schuyler Apartments Preservation LLC has presented a verified application on file with our agency dated April 26, 2023, requesting the agency's assistance with the acquisition, rehabilitation, and equipment of existing multifamily housing complex consisting of A, the acquisition of approximately a 1.2 acre site with existing improvements here in Hudson, and in an approximately 2.5 acre site with existing improvements in Hudson. And I'm not going to bother with tax IDs right now, they are on the document, with the addresses of 46 to 48 North Front Street, also known as 20 and 119 Columbia Street. B, the rehabilitation of approximately 152 units in a housing complex, and C, the acquisition and installation in and around the improvements of certain machinery, equipment, and other items of tangible personal property, with an estimated total cost of $22,793,136. The company proposes to preserve 150 units of existing affordable housing to persons and families of low income. If the issuance of the debt obligation is approved, and interest in the project facility will be acquired by the IDA, and the IDA will lease or sell the project facility to the company or such persons as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency pursuant to the agreement between the company and agency, where the company will be obligated to the agency to make payments pursuant to the agreement for repayment of the debt obligation, and the debt obligation will be secured in such a manner that the agency, company, and purchaser of the debt obligation shall mutually deem appropriate. The debt obligation shall not constitute a debt of the state of New York or the city of Hudson, nor shall either party be liable. The agency will, at said time and place, hear all persons with views on the location and nature of the proposed project, with the debt obligation being contemplated by the agency in connection with the proposed project. A copy of the application is on file by the company with the agency with respect to the project, and is available for public inspection during business hours here at the CDC offices, the agency's administrator at 1 City Center, Hudson City Center, Suite 301. And a copy was also made available on the website as part of the minutes for the packet today. Transcript or summary of this report and hearing will be made available to agency members and the public upon request. At this time, I'd like to open it up before public comment for any additional comment from anybody in the room. All right, floor is open for public comment.
Mr. Chair, did you receive any comments prior to the meeting?
No comments were received directly to myself or any members. Mr. Tucker, did the agency receive any?
We did not receive any comments on this public matter. First class is never given, the last is never accepted, the professor said.
I was having the separate one. I was just pencils down, everybody. Thank you. Go flying around and collect your texts.
Chair, perhaps you.
Yeah, we've got a little air to fill.
Sure.
Until we have public comment. Is there anything that, actually, if you want to go through just at the highest level, just recapping what the project is and
Sure.
timeline to start and complete.
So we're looking at acquisition rehab of Providence Skyport, 152 apartments. Our execution will be a tax credit deal with tax exempt bonds. We've been on redoing the Section 8 contract for 20 years and rehabbing the apartments to make them brought up to today's standard of living with major upgrades. And we hope to keep this affordable for a very long time.
And this is something too, just so everyone's aware, this A&R and Brian, they hold these units. This isn't a flip opportunity. This is, they're invested here, they'll keep it here. They keep these portfolios like they do in Kingston, in Greene County, Albany. Further, we're trying to get this through the work of your councils to hopefully close this. Well, not hopefully, we need to close this by the end of the year. So, then the first quarter, we'll work with the tenants on a schedule and get the apartments renovated, started during that time frame.
All right. Please let Mrs. Drushik, please let the record reflect that we received no public comment. Yeah. Motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, do we need to quit or can we just continue in some Pearl Street? Yep.
The
All right.
finance committee, right? Finance
Yeah.
committee first.
Well, no, meeting, finance committee, meeting. Yeah, remember the dance?
Yes.
All right, so today is, so with that, we're ending the public hearing. We're going straight into the regularly scheduled September meeting for the City of Hudson IDA, September 6th. Here at 1 Hudson City Center, Mr. Trucic, will you please do roll call?
Heather Campbell, absent. Paul Johnson, present. Cheryl Pazaluka, absent. Randall Martin,
Present.
Dominic Moranti, absent. Richard Wallace,
Present.
Brian Wallace,
Here.
you have a form.
Excellent. All right, with that, I'd actually like to get a motion and a second to suspend the regular meeting and go into the IDA Finance Committee. If I could. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right, with Ms. Campbell not here, Mayor May, let's turn it over to you.
Motion to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I so move, please.
That's just you two.
So, any public comment? The finance committee.
We have to do the resolution.
Yeah, no, you just want to introduce it, that's all.
Mr. Chair, maybe you would like to have,
Turn it over to our doctor.
Great, thank you, Mayor. So before the finance committee for consideration at today's meeting is the do a recommendation to the full board regarding the issuance of debt by the agency. And so this is a requirement pursuant to section 2824 Public Authorities Law for the Finance Committee to review proposals for the issuance of debt by the IDA. And so this is with respect to the Providence Skylar project that we just had the TETRA hearing for. And so the resolution lays out the general parameters for the transaction, which will be the PNC Bank National Association will fund the bonds. In this case, the bonds are going to take the form of an agency debt obligation because PNC is funding the project and will eventually turn the project over to Freddie Mac. And so we're using Freddie Mac structure for the project. But essentially, the agency and the company are going to enter into a lease agreement, which is in part the IDA's standard form of lease agreement, but with additional provisions related to the agency debt obligation that will obligate the borrower, the company, to make all payments related to the debt obligation, and to undertake various other obligations with respect to the debt obligation, and so that will be under the lease agreement, and then there will also be a pledge assignment, which essentially the payments on the debt will be made directly to a fiscal agent rather than to the IDA, so that takes the IDA out of handling in between payments. The payments will go directly to a fiscal agent, who will then make the payments to the lender. And so, and PNC as the lender in the first instance may also require other security in order to guarantee the payment of the debt, including guarantees and a variety of other assignments and covenant agreements. And so if the finance committee is ready to make a recommendation, it would be a recommendation that it's in the best interest of the economic development of the city for the agency to issue the debt obligation and to recommend to the full board of the agency to undertake the project to proceed with the issuance of the obligation in accordance with the terms of the document. Are there any questions?
On the screen. Riles, is it only the 4 votes that we have there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's something in chat.
I'll make a recommendation, Providence and Skylar Court Apartments for Creation LLC issuance of debt resolution. Favor? Aye. Any public comment?
Second motion.
So it's fun. Imagine if you had to be with one person and say, all right, so we are going back into the regular meeting for the IDA. First order of business, I need a motion and a second to accept and approve the minutes from the August 2nd meeting, place them on file.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, going into the Providence Hall Skylark Court Apartments, we had a Chris, tax equities finance,
Tax equity and fiscal responsibility.
fiscal responsibility, yes, thank you. Hearing, so we had the public hearing this morning. Please let the record reflect that we received no public comment on the proposal. The resolution, Mr. Mayor, if you want to, we were all here, but for the record, that the Finance Committee has recommended the resolution that we presented during the Finance Committee's meeting.
That's financially responsible.
Perfect.
That's our recommendation.
So I don't believe we're able to approve at this meeting, correct? But we might be able to do it the next, or do we have quorum to be able to vote through today?
You have quorum to vote in the.
Oh,
So
perfect.
again, you may want to ask.
Yes, but do we motion in second to put it on the table, then do that, and then vote?
Yeah.
See, that's remember my order here. So
The oxygen's under the table.
may I have a motion and a second to accept the resolution as proposed by the Finance Committee for consideration to vote?
I'll make that motion.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, to consider it, not to vote on it.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd like bond counsel to review one more time, please, if you would. Chris, I'm trying to go through all of these ridiculous laws that we have at this point, so please, Melissa. Thank you.
All right, so before the full board for consideration today is a resolution authorizing the City of Hudson Industrial Development Agency to authorize the issuance and sale of its multifamily housing revenue governmental lender debt obligation for the Providence Skylar Apartments Preservation LLC project, an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $16 million. The execution of related documents, the Finance Committee has just reviewed and recommended to the full board proceeding with the issuance of the debt obligation. You previously approved a straight lease transaction that would provide financial assistance in the form of mortgage tax exemption, sales tax exemption, and a pilot. And so now, in connection with that straight lease transaction, before you for consideration is authorizing a form of tax exempt debt to be issued by the agency in the form of a debt obligation that would then be purchased by PNC Bank National Association and eventually would be assigned to Freddie Mac. And so you've had your temporary hearing to comply with the Internal Revenue Code requirements for tax exempt debt. The resolution of the various documents that would be entered into in connection with the financing, including your standard leaseback documents, as well as the funding loan agreement, PNC Bank, and a fiscal agent. There would be a pledge and assignment agreement that would have the borrower make their loan payments directly to the fiscal agent to go to the lender. The lender would require a mortgage to be signed by the IDA and the borrower with respect to your expected interest in the project. And the PNC as the lender would also, at its discretion, require whatever other security documents, including guarantees and various assignments for coordination as part of its financing. There would also be various tax documents to be entered into with respect to the tax exempt debt, including a tax regulatory agreement that would also require have certain restrictions with respect to the low income provisions for the project. And eventually, as I mentioned previously, the loan would be assigned to Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, right now. Previously complied with seeker with respect to the project. And so the resolution before you would authorize the project, the various documents in final form to be by the chair in consultation of the bond counsel. And the approval is also subject to receipt of approval of the applicable elected representative of the city in accordance with the Internal Revenue Code, which we will not be the separate hearing. And so your approval again would be subject to receipt of that approval as well as receipt of allocation of private activity volume cap that we're working with the Empire State Development to receive that allocation. And so that is everything. Are there any questions?
I think I would note that, Mike, is it not correct that the county has determined it's not going to be using its allocation for
Yes,
bond caps?
Louder.
the county IDA, at the request of the city IDA, sent a letter that went to the state indicating that they were releasing the county's bond cap allocation in favor of the city's allocation to support this project.
Chris, anything else you personally like to add? Gentlemen, anything final from you?
I look forward to moving this forward and getting this done.
Thank you. Mrs. Trahushin, roll call vote, please.
Heather Campbell, absent. Paul Johnson,
Aye.
Cheryl Kazaluga, absent. Randall Martin.
Aye.
Dominic Moranti, absent. Richard Wallace.
Aye.
Brian Wallace.
Aye. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all your effort on this. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
For dealing with the RT laws of the state that we need to go through to get.
We're
used
much
to it.
needed project done, so we
We put you on the
appreciate it.
emails with HFA.
No, thank you. I received that fortunately.
See a real bureaucracy.
So
Just don't go back and look at when you first contacted us.
Exactly.
we'll get requisite paperwork that needs to be approved,
Because
signed today.
makes me cringe.
Before we leave here today, and then, obviously, we invite you to come and join us at any time during the course of the rehab to give updates to the public, just so that we all know how things are proceeding.
And when we start, we'd love to have you fall down and take a look and see how the project's going, making sure, we're living up to what we said here in our hearings, so please keep our feet to the fire as well, so.
Actually, Jessica will do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
gentlemen. Thank you, Melissa, thank you for all your work. Great. Next order of business. All right, next order of business, we have the Columbia Land Conservancy North Bay. So just to recap for those, because this has kind of been sporadic, I think we started speaking with them in March or April, right?
Yeah.
So we have an opportunity to dispose of property down by the waterfront near the Fagari Shacks. That is majorly wetlands, not very developable at all. And there are a few things that I just want to go through today before we get to proposed resolution that we have in front of us. So in the large packets that you each have in front of you, and folks that are online, this was provided to you. And if you don't have it, do feel free to reach out to me, Carol in particular, if you'd like.
It's also on the city's website,
Oh,
the
it's-
City
oh,
of
it's on-
Hudson IDA website.
It is up there today.
Yep.
So it is on the city's website, and you can find within documents that I want to go through, starting on page.
Middle of the packet.
I'm gonna call it 11 technically. So the first that we have is the memo from the CEDC that outlines exactly what it is. So we're looking at an entirety of 51.5 acres that previously had a value of $40,000. It is considered one tax parcel. The justification for our disposal of this, not to municipality, which we do have the legal right to do, but instead to the CLC Trust, is that we are trying to figure out not only how we can best conserve this land, which is a lot of wetlands. You'll find further along in some of the information that we're reviewing today that I believe it was Crawford and Associates found that approximately like 1.3 acres would be considered developable. However, it would require crossing through the wetlands, and that obviously requires not only DEC approval, but the cost to do that in a very floodplain / wetlands area is cost prohibitive to any particular developer. But in the benefits of conservation, the goal is to connect the Greenport Conservancy via a riverfront trail that can be enjoyed by all of the members of many municipalities that are around us. The proposal that we are looking at here is for the sale price of $1, so that is more of a contribution. However, Chris, I believe technically it is the $1 is the state requirement, correct? Oh, just the convention for it, okay. So within the packets, obviously, you've got the map, you have a proposal from the CLC of where they're envisioning being able to connect the trails. The second document here is the Crawford and Associates survey. Again, I kind of touched on this a little bit, but they go through, they define exactly what it is, how steep some of the slopes are, whether or not their assessment is that they felt it being developable. They found that, again, only 1.03 acres could be developed out of that 51.5 acre parcel. And even then, it would be quite cumbersome to be able to do that. And then, of course, we decided to just take a look at fair market value via Concord appraisal. They have come back and determined that the subject value of around $1,050 per acre, roughly $54,000 in total, would be the fair market value of the land. However, again, we would be looking to sell undevelopable land to a nonprofit conservation entity. So this is again why I think our recommendation in the best interest is to move forward at the price of $1 for the transaction. Importantly, what we need to look at here today is that we do need to send explains why we are going to propose giving this to the nonprofit entity for the cost of $1 versus disposing of it to a municipality. The state retains the right to veto the decisions and the resolutions that we would look to pass here today and being able to move forward with this project. So I believe, Chris, do we need to update the resolution then with that pending language, pending final state approval, correct?
So this resolution does not approve the disposition of the property. Mr. Chair, the process for disposing of the property would need to include, including seeker.
Including,
You
that's
haven't
right.
done that
Yep.
yet, so you're not at a position where you
Can
can
dispose of
approve.
it, but we can
a
approve
disposition.
the letter to be sent.
So this resolution would only authorize a method of sale, meaning as opposed to auctioning the property to the highest bidder, the proposal that you're entertaining from CLC is to dispose of it by negotiation at less than fair market value. Right, so anytime you're doing that, under the statute, you would have to notify the various entities. There are two different notification provisions, and one of them is to some of the state entities. Another one is to APO and some other entities, including control. So for purposes of both of those notices, you would be asking CEDC to prepare the necessary notices substantially in the form that you see. They prepared some information here for you to consider, and then they would be taking notices and sending out. The waiting period is longer because the legislature is not in session right now.
Correct.
So it would have to be concluded after the first of the year. So in the meantime, if you decide that you want to move forward with this, you would commence a secret process, go through that at the next meeting, and then consider a conditional purchase agreement. At that time, that was conditioned on conclusion of that notification process with the state.
And I would say, and acceptance by the state, because they do either need to notify us if they accept it
It's a
or if they
passage of
deny it.
time. They don't-
Oh, it is.
They only
Okay.
have to reject it.
Right. They have an
What's,
opportunity
how long does it have to
reject.
sit with them?
60 days.
Okay,
Well, but it's 60 days after.
Right.
Because
with
the
secret
legislature's not in session.
complete.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
You can't take an action, right, without secret being. complete.
Yes,
So
yes.
we should not move forward with the purchase agreement, so this is not that, this is notifying of a method of sale, so that you can begin that process. Does that
Perfect.
make sense?
So discussion then is, gentlemen, based on what we know in terms of where we have the assessment from Congra, fair market value estimated by CEDC in their memo is actually a total of $65,000. Knowing that it goes toward CLC trusts and held, part of the other thing that Chris and I have discussed offline is wanting to make sure that we do put a clause in whatever the final
Purchase
resolution
agreement.
for sale is that they will keep it undeveloped, so that there isn't a bait and switch, or that they're gonna flip it and try to do something with that 1.3 acres of land, that it just needs to stay forever free. But knowing that we have an undeveloped piece of property that can go to a greater public good, sits within conservation for $1. Any comments, questions, or concerns about proposing and approving this resolution to move forward in that direction so that the CEDC can start the secret process, and then we can start getting the appropriate notifications off to the three entities that Chris detailed?
Sure. Is it, under the scenario that you outlined, is there any reason to believe that, or might there be a legal issue, I should say, might there be a legal issue with a clause or whatever it is that prevents somebody from developing the land? Is that something that somebody could challenge?
It's technically a declaration.
Well, so it's something that I think we would need to explore between now and when you are asked to consider approval list. Because I have not had conversations with CLC about the terms and conditions of the purchase agreement, awaiting this conversation about whether this is something that you want. So once we, have this conversation today, then I would have some conversation with them about what is the nature of the restriction that property ground. Such restriction could be a conservation easement, but that has its own complexities.
Is there anything in the surrounding area that would impact or affect that? In other words, the zoning or the environmental status of
Well,
adjoining parcels.
I mean, they are, right, yeah, I mean, they are asking to basically accept, it's almost like buying an as-is clause, right? They're buying next to the old landfill, so they have to, acknowledge that, nobody is held liable for that they are buying a piece of property that they are indeed buying. I think what you're asking, you might be hinting at, tell me if I'm wrong, on the development side, is that we're saying if the clause is no developing, does that stop them from doing like, I don't know, pergola or something on that 1 acre site that can be enjoyed? But that's all the fine print that Chris would work
I
out
think
with
that we
us.
would wanna come up with
What's acceptable.
whatever memorializes the proposal that they made to you about the proposed use of the property.
Correct.
I was thinking more in commercial terms over perpetuity where somebody might only want some parcel.
That's a discussion we'll have to have with them. It's possible to put a conservation easement on the property if you conform to the standards of
Correct.
urban conservation law about how to do that. what the transportation.
That's a
So
state.
I don't know that that's not something that they're supposed to us at this point. I don't know if that's what they're looking for. I think that's a question that we need to.
Reasonable.
One that might come up, that's all.
Yeah. But in the interim, outside of that, because what you're talking about is the language that will be the final resolution to actually conduct the transaction. This is just saying,
Yes.
let's start the
Yes,
process.
But I would like whatever feedback you guys might
Yeah.
have about, what you would like to see in ultimately getting an agreement.
At least a refreshment stand.
Yeah.
So their proposal, I believe, is the development of a trail from Josh Lake.
It is,
to,
it's
right,
connected,
to north,
correct.
to
That's
the
what we
three-foot
said.
area.
This was initially prompted because they want to expand their trail.
Correct.
They want to connect to the state.
And,
Right.
and I think preserve the wetlands.
Right. Now, it was, I think that one of the previous meetings, you had said that this scenario, because we're giving it away out of not at fair
Not a
market,
fair market value.
right, made it more technically cumbersome
Yes.
for us to do. And now there's a lot more.
Because if we turned around and we wanted
Right.
to give it to the city, we could give it to the city, no problem, because that's what, there
The
are,
State law allows you to.
and our governmental arm in that
Right.
aspect.
Or they could have just bought that state, and
So you could decide to auction it or, whatever other process you wanted to follow, but then anybody can bid on it.
okay, so we could have just had a direct sale to them.
Without following
All
the
these-
protocol.
The same thing, the same step.
Wait till we
Yeah.
get into the finance committee and the governance meeting, we're gonna have to suspend and go in, yeah, but it is, these are the steps that we have to do in order to try to keep it green, keep it conserved, and then, to your point, we're just looking at the map for anybody that's online, so you can only go so far in the Freeport Conservation Area up on Jocelyn, and that's what they wanna do, is basically, if they get
Connected
this,
to.
they wanna be able to put it, so you're gonna be able to almost go right down to Charles Williams Park, down even, what's that street? Not Mill Street at Dock Street, and I forget what the one that runs then up to the tea company.
What about Manfred?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, it's North Second, then I thought it becomes something else after it terminates at Dock, but anyway, then you're gonna be able to get into some sort of area where you can hopefully connect to that trail and go all the way up through to Greenport, and I think that goes as far as Harriman Point up there, Harriman Park, which is near Stockville,
Just
or
for
Stockport.
some history too, and I don't have all the history, but I do know that the property was originally conveyed to the IDA from HCD as part of the playground, and that some of that development happened, that's where the old NSIG property
Yep.
now, I guess the
The tea company.
right, is located. So there was a development up there, with a portion of the property. So what you're essentially doing is, at long last, disposing of what you consider surplus after that development.
70 years.
I just wondered if there's a more streamlined way of doing it, but it doesn't really seem like.
Not unless you're gonna sell it from a.
Three words, two word state. Good. Alright,
I think it's only complicated by the fact that the legislation provides that because the legislature is not in session,
yeah,
that you have to wait till January for the clock to run on the notice.
well, we have
We've
a
done,
a month, right, to get our ducks in a row.
but we've done other deals where, if they're from January, if you do them between January and June, they're very quick.
But that'll be the thing, we have, if we start seeker, right, get our letters done, Chris has the conversations with CLC or their council, hopefully by the October meeting, we can get in here. We have the start of the terms would be, we have all of our paperwork in place. We can vote to send out our notices, but then it is a sit and wait game until January.
Well, you can send out, that's all done in this current resolution.
The
Yes.
notice,
To
the
send-
notice that goes out to the
Yeah.
state will go out now.
But just in general, like getting this process started.
We can tee everything up in the
Correct.
next 4 months.
Correct.
Yeah.
And do we have an indication of when they plan on actually building, like expanding, starting their work?
They have asked to have a license agreement to go on the property prior to the expiration date of the state's potential rejection.
Right.
But we have to get details from them on that, and their executive director is on the West Coast this week. Yep.
So we can make that a part of it. Consider, so that once you sign a purchase agreement, they would be authorized to go on and do whatever site inspection
They can start
surveys.
the work.
So it doesn't impede them, so the rent runs, you know, currently it doesn't.
Questions, gents? All right, can I get a motion in a second to put the resolution forward for a vote?
Resolution forward.
Second.
All right, Mr. Rushi, roll call vote, please.
Campbell. Absent. Paul Johnson. Cheryl Kozlowski is absent. Randall Martin.
Aye.
Dominic Moranti is absent. Richard Wallace.
Aye.
Brian Wallace.
Aye.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, Mr. Tucker and Ms. Gabriel, may I turn it over to you for our project updates?
The Depot District project, 708 State Street. Chris, if you had an update on the legal documents relating to closing?
State Street is supposed to be moving along. We've been exchanging some comments about some stuff. Hearing that it's supposed to be closing.
On the pocketbook factory, I know they have been back at work. A lot of structural stabilization work has been done. We spent a lot of money, and I know that they were moving forward towards their closing as well. Any update?
No, I haven't heard of that.
SEC 7 is getting ready to plan a groundbreak or a ribbon cutting, and you'll certainly all be included and invited to participate.
Give baskets of
that.
USDA approved.
Under
bacon.
$25 now.
There we go, yeah. Hey, listen, I'll take $24.99 in bacon.
Yeah. We could, but it would be wrong. So in any
It is a
event,
joke, yes, even though I love Chris's reaction to that. This
I'm
is,
gonna get
To the
China after
$25
this.
you'll get one from Chris, it's fine.
And then we did want to bring up an issue relating to 41 Cross Street Hospitality, the Wick Hotel.
Yeah.
As you know, CEDC also provides administrative support services to the Columbia County Industrial Development Agency. 7 or 8 years ago, when the state had suggested that the city IDA be dissolved and the county IDA provide IDA incentives for the city as well, we suggested that they not do that. The developer of the WIC at the time was concerned that since the city IDA had not done a deal in 10 years, that they would prefer the county do the deal. So we went to the city IDA and said that if the city IDA requested the county, which had independent jurisdiction in the city regardless, but asked them to do the deal, the county IDA would do the deal. And if the city IDA provided the terms of the pilot agreement so that the county wasn't making those decisions for the city IDA, that they would split the fee 50-50. And that gave the city IDA the funds to get back on its feet, to retain us to do the work over the last 3 or 4 years to the point where you are now with the significant account balances. We've been approached by a company that is indicated they are doing the due diligence in connection with the possible purchase of the Wick Hotel. And they would like to move forward with the county IDA to be able to step into the shoes of the existing transaction, which would enable them to have the benefit of the remaining 4 years on the pilot agreement and possibly a mortgage recording tax exemption, but that may not be necessary if there's an assignment of the mortgage by the lender to the new owner. We just wanted to bring this to your attention. Shortly after the initial IDA deal closed, the WIC needed to borrow an additional $500,000. The county IDA went ahead and provided for that and split the fee with the city IDA. The intent here would be that any fee collected in connection with moving forward at the county level would also be split. To the extent that the pilot runs the full 10 years, or the deal runs the full 10 years, if the developer at that point requested any further IDA assistance, the county would send it back to the city to build. The theory here is that let's run this deal out because it would be awkward and expensive for both parties to be able to turn it over to the city. And they're just really asking to step into the shoes of the existing purchase. But
we have no action.
Yeah, there's no action. It's just and we explored whether there was some way that it would benefit bringing it back here, but it's really an administrative function to because the documents do provide that it is assignable but with the approval of the IDA, that would be the county. Just so that if you hear about this, you wonder, well, how is this happening without the city IDA's involvement?
So the city IDA maintains its interest.
No, the city IDA really has no interest other than the county was willing to give them half the fee.
We weren't in a position when the deal was originally proposed and structured to get involved with it.
Right.
I don't know if we just weren't fiscally there yet, right? And so what we did instead is said, hey, county, we really want this, but can you do it for us?
Right.
So it's their deal, they run it, we have some benefit, we're just in the passenger seat going for a ride.
And the key here was the county was unwilling to do it unless the city IDA set the approved pilot payment. The county didn't want to be criticized for giving away city tax dollars without the city's approval. But in some counties, in Albany County, for instance, where there are 7 IDAs, there is a local law that says that if the IDA in the town or city where an IDA exists wants the county won't do the deal unless that municipality says that they want them to, or they refuse to. We don't have that here, but we have it as a courtesy, as a handshake agreement, because the county felt that if the city has it, the county IDA felt that if the city has its own IDA, we're not going to overstep that, even if you don't want to do it. Questions?
And we still get whatever portion of the pilot payments that still remains.
Yeah, none of that's changing. So it's just I said to Mike that it's like you ever moved out of an apartment you leased and somebody else took it over. Landlord's still getting the same lease payment, all of that stuff. We're just riding out the time on it. That's it.
3.5 years left
On the deal. Yep. Percent dad. All right. We have the Housing Trust Fund Advisory Committee presentation. It's my apologies. I received a note not in time to be able to change the agenda, but we're going to be moving that to our October meeting. And with that, if there's no other business anybody in the room has, I'd like to open up the floor to public comment. All right. Second?
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for those that attended online. Jessica, Mike, thank you for everything with Skylar and